I'll take it off. I'm sorry.
Relax. God damn it! My wife's stuff is missing.
A quiet Monday morning. One call, and the line between normal and nightmare disappeared.
And no one answered.
Something was bad.
David's car was missing.
And my stomach just knew. Something was bad.
At first, it looked like a simple robbery, a break-in, maybe. But what started as a missing persons report quickly spiraled into every parent's worst nightmare and every cop's darkest case. A betrayal so personal, so disturbingly close, it would shake his family and the entire community to its core.
Understand what's at stake here.
I do understand.
There's someone's life that's probably been taken.
A calm Monday morning was shattered by the sound of a ringing phone. On the line was a panicked caller. David's son was gone. The car was missing. Tools and a few items from the garage had disappeared. In an instant, the peaceful start to the day turned into every parent's worst nightmare. In a state of panic, he snatched his phone and frantically dialed David. He called once, then twice, and a third time. With every unanswered ring that was louder than the last, the silence that followed was deafening. David did not pick up. Upon realizing her jewelry box was gone, David's stepmother insisted his father immediately contact the police.
Just after 4 p.m., we had received a 911 call, a possible residential burglary. Then he noticed his son was missing.
I came home from work. I left at 3:30 this morning to go to work. I come home. I notice that my wife's stuff is missing. My iPad's missing. And I checked the front door. Still has a deadbolt on it. My wife keeps all of this stuff. Rings, necklaces.
It's all just right there on the corner.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think happened.
When I saw the stuff missing, I thought maybe the boy took it to the pawn shop. And
You thought David might have?
Yeah. No, get some extra money.
Have you thought of any special places he likes to hang out?
When he does take off, he's going to Vegas.
Okay.
No, he's only gone for like 2-3 days.
Initially, officers believed David had just taken off for the weekend, perhaps spending time with friends or out partying. When officers searched David's room, his video game was still paused, suggesting he had only briefly left and was expected to return, but never did.
What kind of shoes does he wear?
Those right ones.
Yeah, I'm curious what shoes he's got on.
He had left his wallet.
If you hear from David,
I'll call you.
yeah, give us a call.
Because David remained absent the following morning, officers revisited the Heisler residence to conduct a more thorough investigation. Meanwhile, David's mother used Facebook to post about his disappearance and ask for assistance in bringing him back home.
How are you?
You do better.
Yeah, I'm sure. In a stressful time, obviously.
All day, all night.
He noticed a couple drops of blood in the garage.
Oh, yeah.
The blood spatter that was found in the kitchen was very fine and was a mist. The pattern of blood in the garage was dripping.
Officers examined surveillance footage from the vicinity to trace David's location. However, his 2002 Saturn could not be found. Officers expanded their search and located additional neighborhood surveillance footage. This footage showed David's Saturn departing the area at 4:56 a.m. Because David, Ken, and Debbie were on the same cell phone plan, investigators focused on their phone records to determine the last person who had been in contact with David. Sometime around 3:30 a.m., David messaged his ex-girlfriend, Kelly Perry, the mother of his daughter, Mariah. Those texts later played a critical role in establishing the timeline, as it was an hour prior to David's car leaving. Officers went to Kelly Perry's home to find out what she knew about David's disappearance.
Can we talk to you for a couple minutes, or? So what do you think is kind of going on?
I honestly don't know what to think at this point. I'm just flustered over the whole thing.
The last time you talked to him was when?
The last time I actually talked to him was Monday morning.
Okay, what did you guys talk about?
He was trying to get me to go to his house and go stay the night with him. He was sending texts to my phone saying that his dad went to work and for me to come over.
Can I see those?
Yeah, I woke up and I called him. It rang and then went to voicemail. Of course, I'm going to worry. He's still the father of my kid, you know?
Mm-hmm.
She needs her dad, you know? Before we had Mariah, he took off with a friend of his out of state. Not even his parents knew where he was.
And how long was he gone during that trip?
He was gone for about 2.5, 3 weeks.
In the initial report from Ken Heisler, he stated property was missing from his residence. We wanted to look into his pawn history to see if he had got a little extra cash and was headed on a vacation. We log into the Utah pawn database. When pulling up those records, you can see that David had pawned several items, but those items had been pawned months before. We felt that something was off and we wanted to dig into it.
Ken's earlier comments had struck a chord. David, he'd noted, was still dutifully making payments on his Saturn. This crucial detail led investigators to contact the finance company, which confirmed a vital piece of information. The car was equipped with a tracker. Now, they had a direct line, a silent guide that promised to lead them straight to the vehicle's whereabouts. The tracker indicated David's car was at his residence at approximately 6:42 a.m. on June 27th. Within minutes, however, a new signal registered hundreds of miles away in Arizona, specifically along Mount Trumbull Loop, a remote desert route utilized exclusively by ranchers. The car pinged a third time at 6:55 a.m., still located in that isolated stretch. Hoping for a breakthrough in finding David, or at least an explanation for his disappearance, officers initiated a search of the isolated route where the car's signal had been detected. Officers received a call on July 1st reporting a sighting of a car matching David's Saturn in Beaver Dam, Arizona. Officers quickly closed in on the Saturn and searched it thoroughly, looking for any sign of David.
I was very, very nervous. We didn't find David there.
I had a lot of emotions, a lot of relief. There's a possibility that David still may be alive.
Behind the driver's seat, investigators discovered a single 9mm shell casing. This chilling piece of evidence strongly suggested violence had occurred inside the vehicle.
This wasn't just David's missing. In our mind, now David has been taken.
Investigators found that Kelly Perry and David had been embroiled in a bitter, years-long custody dispute by examining her social media activity. Returning to Kelly Perry's initial interview, investigators re-examined the recording, searching meticulously for any overlooked detail.
The individuals she was living with, they're all friends. Matter of fact, she said she called Tammy, the homeowner, Ma. And then a man named Frank Mccratt was living in the garage of the house. Her alibi was they were there the day that David went missing.
Debbie quickly forwarded the messages she began receiving to investigators. These texts alleged that Kelly and Frank were responsible for David's disappearance. One text was particularly notable, stating that David was taken while he was playing his video games. That was the information no one had. Investigators discovered that, during David's absence, Kelly had gone to the 5th District Courthouse to request temporary guardianship of their daughter. Hoping to uncover the truth about David's disappearance, investigators obtained a warrant for Kelly's cell phone due to the alarming content of the text messages. They approached her at the courthouse and demanded her phone. Kelly hesitated, but ultimately turned it over, only because she was forced to comply with the warrant. With David still missing, officers sent Kelly's phone for immediate analysis, hoping the data inside would show whether she'd played any role in his disappearance.
We felt the urgency. We did move that case up and work on it immediately. Going to grab all the text messages and get as much user data that we could. I can tell there were things deleted out of the database and off that device. There's a hole in time where we're not seeing activity where we should be seeing activity.
With fresh evidence pulled from her phone, investigators summoned Kelly back in for another round of questioning.
Like, all I want is to hug my little girl and let her know it's gonna be okay.
You need to understand that for that to ever happen, we need to eliminate you as a possible suspect, right?
Tell us the roles.
This is my concern. In your phone, the shrinking, of 15 a.m. Almost an entire week.
Whether you help us figure out what really happened, or whether we find out by happening to go through people's phones.
We'll figure it out. It's gotta come. Were you at his house? You tell that Dave.
You understand what's at stake.
I do understand.
There's someone's life that's probably been taken. But we're toying with in our head. Either you had something to do with it and have knowledge of it, or this rogue crazy boyfriend of yours, when you did it on his own. Either way, you know what happened, Kelly. You do. What happened, Kelly?
Where's David?
I don't know.
They didn't tell you where he took him.
Okay.
I don't know where he took him.
You don't know where Frank took him?
What happened at the house?
I knocked on the door and Frank pushed me out of the way. They had like a scuffle and he went to the car and Frank went to the backseat. And he killed both of us. And then he pulled over and made me get out of the car.
The last person to see David alive was Frank Mccratt. It's very urgent that at this point we locate Frank.
Investigators shifted their attention to Frank, the last person known to have seen David alive, and worked quickly to locate him.
Finger, man!
I'm sorry.
God! You're squeezing my finger, man!
Sorry, sir. I'll take it off. I'm sorry.
Relax. God damn it!
Frank Mccratt was known for his criminal history around Washington County.
He was known in the drug world. He was a known user, a known seller.
You drove him across the state line into the Arizona Strip, Mount Trumbull area, right?
Yeah. What happened then?
Mom.
Did you have a gun with you?
No, I did not.
Like there's no emotion in this guy. He's just very cold, very matter of fact.
He was alive, man.
Who did you leave him with then?
I left him in the cinnamon tree. He was alive when I left him.
You drove down that Arizona Strip road, right?
Yeah.
And how far did you go?
Maybe 15, 20 miles. You guys are going to find him. If you don't find him, you're going to find a Bodycam road.
Frank directed investigators to a location that matched the same area where David's car had pinged earlier.
The lone tree that's sitting by the side of the road. This is where David was last seen alive, according to Mr. Mccratt.
Kelly had already told investigators that Frank had threatened her, adding even more suspicion to his involvement in David's disappearance.
Like, I wanted to talk to you guys, but I'm
scared.
Who are you scared of, Frankie? Or are you scared about not seeing Mariah?
You can tell when people are trying to draw emotion into things.
I miss my daughter and want to hug her right now.
It wasn't believable that she wasn't involved. Obviously, Frank is the muscle, but he's definitely not the brain behind the operation. We need to figure out what Kelly's role is in this.
Forensic experts recovered data that had been deleted from Kelly's phone painted a damning picture. Her search history included, "If your husband goes missing, how to take custody of the child," and messages between her and Frank showed them texting back and forth, laying out their plan.
The plan was that they drop Kelly at the Flying J gas station. However, they discussed that there was too many cameras, and a text message that was sent stated no airport exit, reason being that there were no cameras there.
Kelly told investigators that Frank had called her to pick him up near the area where David's car was later discovered, and that afterward, the two went gambling together. With assistance from the FBI, investigators obtained casino surveillance footage to check whether Kelly and Frank were telling the truth.
At 7:37, Frank Mccratt leaves the casino with a shaved head.
When he did that, every one of us went, he's physically changing his appearance because he did something horrible.
On August 18th, 2016, officers got the call. A body had been discovered in Arizona. It was David. Though his remains were badly decomposed, the find gave investigators enough evidence to pursue homicide charges and finally bring some measure of justice to his grieving parents. For David Heisler, everything began and ended with his daughter, Mariah. He wasn't just a father on paper. He was present, involved, and fiercely protective, doing everything he could to give her a childhood filled with love, laughter, and a sense of safety. When his life was suddenly and brutally taken, that entire world collapsed in an instant. His family and friends were left devastated, struggling to process the cruelty of his death, while Mariah was forced to grow up without the man who was her anchor, her protector, and her whole world. Frank Mccratt pleaded guilty to murder and kidnapping and received a 75-year prison sentence. After pleading guilty to kidnapping resulting in death, Kelly Perry was handed a 35-year sentence in federal prison. Tammy Freeman admitted guilt to vehicle theft, aggravated burglary, and aggravated kidnapping, and received a 3-year prison sentence. Investigators later discovered that on June 27th, the same day David and Kelly were texting, Frank, Kelly, and Tammy had already been planning David's murder. Kelly went to David's house with Frank, where Frank punched David in the face multiple times. They bound him and pulled a pillowcase over his head. Frank forced David into the car, while Kelly and Tammy drove to Mesquite to establish their alibi.
He had cut one of the zip ties so that he could get free. The place that he was left was 40-plus miles from civilization. He didn't have any shoes. He didn't have any water. What chance would he have had? Frank abandons the vehicle where he's made arrangements with Tammy and Kelly to get picked up.
Frank went into the bathroom and shaved his head to get rid of any evidence. After that, all three of them, Frank, Kelly, and Tammy, went back home, acting as though nothing had ever happened. In David Heisler's case, it was the digital trail that blew everything wide open. Deleted texts revealed the cold, calculated plan, and the GPS data from his car pinpointed exactly where the crime took place. Without that digital footprint, the truth and the conspiracy behind his murder might have stayed buried forever. In the end, David Heisler was not defined by the way he died, but by the way he lived as a father. For him, Mariah wasn't just his daughter. She was his purpose, his fight, his joy. After David's death, his parents stepped in to adopt little Mariah, vowing to give her the love, stability, and future their son had always dreamed of providing for her.